Picture this. A 14-year-old walks into school carrying a guitar case, but instead of a guitar, it holds an assault rifle. He smiles at his classmates, pulls the fire alarm, and calmly waits as the halls fill with students, then opens fire. This isn't a movie, it's real. On March 24, 1998, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, two middle schoolers, Andrew Golden and Mitchell Johnson, carried out a calculated ambush, killing 5 people and injuring 10. They didn't just snap. They baited their classmates into the open and executed their plan with terrifying precision. And just 1 year later, in 1999, Columbine High School would become a household name as Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold took this horror to new levels, documenting their obsession with fame and violence. School shootings aren't random, they're planned, calculated, and often inspired by past attacks. The motives behind these tragedies are darker than you think. Let's break them down. Let's start with the most chilling truth. School shooters don't act alone. Even if they pull the trigger by themselves, their motives are shaped by a toxic mix of social rejection, media obsession, and psychological trauma. And here's the thing, they almost always leave clues behind. 81% of school shooters tell someone about their plan in advance. Let that sink in, 81%. And yet, the attacks still happen. Take Andrew Golden and Mitchell Johnson. These weren't your typical middle schoolers. Andrew was just 11 years old, and Mitchell was 13. 11. Think about that for a second. These kids weren't even old enough to drive, yet they stole rifles from a family member, mapped out their attack, and pulled the fire alarm to lure their classmates into the open. They didn't just wake up one day and decide to do this, it was planned. The motive? Revenge against classmates and teachers they thought had wronged them. But here's the kicker. When they were arrested, they showed no remorse. Mitchell even said he wanted to be respected. Respected for what? Killing his peers? It's horrifying. And then there's Columbine. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold weren't just angry teens. They were meticulous planners. They wrote journals, made videos, and fantasized about how their attack would make them famous. Eric even described himself as a godlike figure who deserved to decide who lived and who died. Their plan wasn't just to shoot their classmates, they wanted to blow up the entire school. Thankfully, their homemade bombs failed, but their attack still left 13 dead and 24 injured. Why? Because they wanted to be remembered forever. And guess what? It worked. After Columbine, the number of school shootings skyrocketed by 300%. 300%! Eric and Dylan became the blueprint for future attacks. But not every shooter wants fame. Some are driven by revenge fantasies so warped, they feel justified in their actions. Take Elliot Rodger in 2014. He posted videos online blaming women for rejecting him and society for ignoring him. He called himself an incel, short for involuntary celibate, and said he needed to punish the world. Punish the world? For what, exactly? Not getting a date? His attack left 6 people dead before he took his own life. And here's the terrifying part. His rants inspired an entire online subculture of angry young men who see him as a hero. Let that sink in. There are people who idolize a mass murderer because they relate to his loneliness. And then there's the role of family dysfunction. Over 68% of school shooters come from abusive or neglectful homes. Adam Lanza, who killed 26 people at Sandy Hook Elementary in 2012, is a textbook example. His mother stockpiled guns and ignored his severe mental health issues. Adam was socially isolated, deeply disturbed, and obsessed with violent video games. When he snapped, his first victim was his own mother. Then he went to the school, where he murdered 20 first graders and 6 teachers. 20 first graders. Think about that. And all because no one stepped in to address his mental health or remove access to the weapons in his home. But here's the stat that really hits hard. 75% of school shooters get their guns from home. 75%. That means most of these tragedies could be prevented if parents simply locked up their firearms. Yet, in 30 states, it's easier for an 18-year-old to buy an assault rifle than it is to buy a beer. Let that irony sink in. We're arming teenagers with weapons of war but saying they're not mature enough to drink alcohol. Make it make sense. The motives behind school shootings are complex fame, revenge, family dysfunction, and easy access to guns all play a role. But there's one more factor we can't ignore: the copycat effect. Over 80% of school shooters study past attacks. They watch news coverage, read manifestos, and even mimic the clothing and weapons used by previous attackers. It's not just about the act, it's about the legacy. They want to be part of something bigger, even if it means leaving behind a trail of destruction. Here's where things take an even darker turn: the role of social media. In today's world, shooters don't just want to be remembered, they want to go viral. Take the Parkland shooter in 2018, who posted on Instagram, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." He literally announced his plan online, yet no one stopped him. Why? Because we've become numb to these warning signs. And that's exactly what makes this epidemic so dangerous. The truth is, school shootings aren't random acts of violence. They're carefully planned, deeply motivated, and often preventable. But to stop them, we need to understand the twisted psychology that drives these attackers. And that's exactly what we're going to break down next. School shootings are rarely random. They're planned, calculated, and driven by motives far darker than most people realize. Take Andrew Golden and Mitchell Johnson, middle schoolers who, in 1998, lured classmates into the open with a fire alarm and killed 5 people in a cold, calculated ambush. Or Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who meticulously planned the Columbine massacre in 1999, leaving behind journals and videos detailing their obsession with fame and their desire to be remembered forever. These tragedies skyrocketed school shootings by 300%, inspiring future attackers. But not all shooters are after fame. Some, like Elliot Rodger in 2014, are fueled by revenge fantasies, while others, like Adam Lanza at Sandy Hook, are shaped by family dysfunction and unchecked mental health issues. And here's the hardest truth: 75% of shooters get their guns from home, and 80% show clear warning signs long before they act. This isn't just an epidemic of violence, it's a failure to recognize and stop the patterns that repeat again and again.